So what had happened was a couple of years later, these wise men of the East, God communicated to them that there was going to be this star that they would see that was going to lead them to a new king. And so they left their home and they went out and sought out and followed this star. And the way the Bible presents it, these wise men were the only people that could see the star. If you go back and read the account, you'll see that they go into Judea and they talk to Herod, who's the king of that area. And Herod says, well, what star are you talking about? And when you find that star, you let me know. Because he couldn't see it. So here's a star that's moving, this bright luminescence in the sky that's moving, and that only a few men can see. Fascinating story. Well, a lot of people doubt this account, as they do most of the Bible. And as I said, I'm a former atheist, so I've doubted every single word of it. But they doubt it because of this star. They say, this is crazy, this couldn't possibly happen. So there are really three natural explanations for this that people put forth. They say, look, we can explain this, and this is how we'll explain it. Some explain it saying it was a comet, okay? Comet going through the sky that led them. Other people say that the planets lined up, and when the planets line up, they create a brighter area in the sky, and maybe that was it. And then a third explanation is a supernova. And a supernova is a star that essentially blows up and becomes very bright for a period of time. But there are really problems with all of these when you try and mesh them with what the Bible says. And there's a guy named Dr. Don DeYoung who wrote an article on the creation.com website. By the way, if you have any questions about science in the Bible, evolution in the Bible, or the days of creation, regular days, was there really a global flood, all that kind of science stuff, creation.com, highly recommend the website. But this Dr. Don DeYoung wrote an article called, What Was the Star of Bethlehem? And he addressed these three natural phenomenon. Let's read a little bit of what he said. He said, some scholars think this star was a comet. However, records of comet sightings do not match up with Jesus' birth. For example, Halley's Comet was present in 11 BC, but the first Christmas took place around 5 to 7 BC. So apparently there are some historical records, and you can calculate when this comet came around. And he said, well, that time doesn't match up. It couldn't be Halley's Comet. He goes on. Others believe the Star of Bethlehem was a conjunction or a gathering of planets, like we talked about, in the night sky. However, multiple planets do not look like a single light source as described in the Bible. All right, that's the second thing. Finally, he says, an exploding star or supernova has been proposed to explain the Christmas star. Some stars are unstable and explode with a bright blaze. However, historical records do not indicate a supernova at the time of Jesus' birth. So what's happening here is we're taking these three ideas, comet, aligning of planets, and supernova, and we're comparing them to what we know about history and what's recorded, and we're finding what the Bible says is not adding up. This is telling us that this was not something that was a standard, normal, or regular astrological phenomenon. This was something God did at that time for a specific reason. And there are some bigger problems here. Supernovas and planets don't move around the sky. Now, if you look at the words of the Bible, set aside whether you believe it or not. If you look at the words of the Bible, it says it moved and it stood over where the child was. And this star was only seen by these three men. So when you get down to it, the only explanation for this is supernatural, above nature. That would be God, your creator, doing something very unusual, very extraordinary.